Hi, this is Mark Zonder with the Graham Bonnet Band, and you're watching The Metal Voice.
Welcome to another edition of The Metal Voice. Today on the show, ex-Fates Warning drummer, current Warlord drummer, current Graham Bonnet drummer, or Graham Bonnet Band drummer, the man they used to call Thunderchild, the one, the only Mr. Mark Zonder. Mark, what's going on?
Just waking up on a Saturday morning here in LA and looking forward to the interview.
Mark, okay, let's start off with the Graham Bonnet Band. All right, so tell me what happened. You've joined the band, you've played on the band's last EP, so how did that all come about?
Well, the way it really came about is through Giles Lavery, who did the Warlord tour in 2013 with us and also did the track Killzone on the Holy Empire album. And basically, Giles wound up into managing them. And actually, Graham and the band lived probably about 30 miles from where I live, in the same area in LA. And when Giles started managing him, he told me sort of about what was going on and everything. And it came to a point where they're going to record 2 songs for a mini EP, I guess. And Russ Ballard, who had written a lot of the bigger hits for Rainbow and other bands early on, was going to be writing one of them.
Sure.
So part of my business is I have the recording studio. I have the recording studio here at home, and I do a lot of tracking for other people. So because of the cost and the time and the energy and the money and just the caliber of drummer that they wanted for the track, Giles thought it would be a good idea if I played on it. So that came about, and I wasn't in the band at that point. That was just strictly another job.
Yeah.
And as things started rolling along, I'd noticed how the band was progressing, basically thanks to Giles, as far as really, from a managerial point of view, trying to really get things together, whether it was re-releases, live dates, securing a deal with Frontiers Records, which was a big, big deal.
Sure.
As we all know, this day and age, to get a record deal, even from your neighbor who's got a little record label, is tough. It's just not an easy business. One thing sort of morphed into another, and it just sort of happened.
So tell me about the new studio album with the Graham Bonnet Band.
So you have a brand new Graham Bonnet Band, 11 songs that no one's ever heard before.
Okay.
And then in that package, there'll be a bonus disc, which a lot of labels do these days. So as well as getting the 11-song brand new Graham Bonnet album, you get 16 of Graham's hits redone by the current band. So I'll be playing, or I have played, on those 16 songs.
But there's a presence of the Michael Schenker group. There's a presence of Alcatraz. Is Alcatraz on that list?
Oh, yeah. Alcatraz, it's Graham's solo stuff. It covers the whole thing. It's Graham's solo stuff. It's definitely MSG, 3 to 4 MSG songs. There's 2 Impellitteri songs. There's the Rainbow tunes. I think there's 4 Rainbow songs. I think it's well covered.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's fine. It's well covered. Like you said, it spans his career, right? Re-recording. I think that's a great idea, by the way. Those songs needed the revamping.
It's a great marketing idea, and it's not one of these, hey, let's pull out 16 songs that no one's ever heard.
Can you name a couple of tracks?
Yeah.
New songs.
The new stuff?
Yeah.
A lot of working titles.
Okay.
A lot of working titles. I think one song's called The Dance, another song called Rider. There's different working titles right now. There's a lot.
Do you have a name for the new album yet? Have you have a title?
No, it's pretty far off from that. I'm not going to say there's no time to think of an album title, and I'm sure thoughts of going around, but you take that, you take the studio album, and then at the end of January, we kick into like a month of live playing, a date here, 2 in the States, and then we're going overseas to England for 3 weeks. There's a lot going on.
and I know it was just announced that you're going to Australia in April.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. When I've never been to Australia, always wanted to go, and obviously, Graham was big there. And what's sort of interesting about Graham in his back catalog that a lot of people don't know, especially here in America, is that when we go to these other countries, we got to play 1 or 2 songs that we're not overly familiar with, but they were #1 hits in that.
That's weird, yeah.
I've been told that you go into a shopping mall even to this day, and you're going to hear, a Graham #1 hit song.
So let's talk about the Warlord years for a bit. The band in the early '80s had a cult following, right, on Metal Blade. Why do you think the band never achieved sort of the mass, you know, never reached that mass sort of acceptance?
There's a couple reasons, okay? The first one, we've always had a problem with the singer. So it's tough to have a band when you don't have a consistent singer. We'd be rehearsing 5-6 days a week, instrumentally, you know, and some credit the fact of how the composition and the interplay between the drums and the guitar became so prevalent and so outstanding is because it was me and Bill playing all the time together. You know, it's not like a singer was getting in the way or, you know, a singer was, you know, stopping rehearsal. Well, let me try this lyric. And I mean, we played and played and played and played for hours and hours. So we got very, you know, used to each other and very familiar with each other. Take the singer out of the position and just say, okay, we have a singer and everything's great. You have to remember back in those days, yes, bands were flying out all over the place, but the style of music was different. I mean, you had Rat, Poison, Motley Crue, Cinderella, Astor Pussycat. I could name about 12 more.
Sure.
And that have nothing to do with what Warlord was doing. Warlord musically was a completely different entity. You know, Warlord was Rainbow meets Rush meets Deep Purple, throw in a little Uriah Heep, when those other bands were playing a much more simple, more of a visual kind of look at the band first, then maybe listen to the song second. But when it hit, and I'm not sure if Motley Crue was the first band or whoever the first band that really hit, then every label needed to have 6 bands on the roster like that. That's why it's crazy when all those bands, I mean, were getting deals, but you couldn't tell me a song right now, but they were getting deals. I'll never forget, we went to, you know, okay, and here we go into point 3.
Okay.
Well, it's a nice segue right into point 3. Basically support from the label. Okay, and this isn't pointing a finger at Brian Slagle Metal Blade, it was just a fact of what was going on at the time and the available resources. But I'll never forget, we went and had a meeting with Michael Browning, and Michael Browning managed AC/DC. Super nice guy, took a meeting with us. We went up to the Hollywood Hills. It was almost just like a movie, you know, and super nice guy. And we go in, and those are the days, you know, you had records and people actually listened to things. And he puts on Deliver Us. And I'd say about a minute and a half through Deliver Us, he pulls the needle off and he looks at it and he goes, and we're thinking, oh God, you know, we're getting thrown out of here like right now. He looks at it and goes, you guys have got basically a platinum record here, but the problem is you don't have the label support to make it go. So it's going to basically sit on the shelf.
Yeah, I think that sums it up.
Yeah, and it's very sobering thought. On one hand, it's a great feeling. Can't really take it to the bank, but that basically sized it up too, you know. And it's not an it's not an accusation. It's not a blame. It's just the way it was, you know. The label that we were on just didn't have the financial backing to push the band, to put a lot of money into the band, to put the band on the road, to do like real recording, not $800 8-track recordings. That's what a lot of people don't know, is that the interesting part about Deliver Us, which is a record that stands up to this day and you know, is considered a cult classic, is that record was done for $800. It was an 8-track recording. It was the 2 bass drums and the bass guitars funneled over to 1 track to save room for other tracks. So from a recording point of view, it was pretty substandard, but it was the songs that stood out. It was the band that stood out, which is just a test to the band. It's just a testament to the band on how good, you know, Bill's songwriting really was and is.
Did you guys open up for Metallica, Rat, and all the other bands that were on the Metal Massacre at the time?
We thought, okay, well, what we could do, we could go play little gigs around town and, you know, do that whole kind of little thing. Or if we were, you know, it was sort of a marketing idea of ours, why don't we do a video? And so that video could go worldwide, and because we knew that a European market was going to be a little bit more advantageous for us than it was here.
Sure.
So we thought, what if we do a video, and so it could be seen worldwide? Then people overseas can go, oh wow, check this band out. You'd think more people would want to book the band, and things could roll. So that was the whole idea behind doing the Warlord video back in the 80s. Completely low budget, completely, you know, like a bad movie. But it got out there. And again, there's another thing that's sort of a kind of a classic. It was the only representation of the band live. Circus Palace in Pasadena, California here is where we filmed that first gig we ever did was 2002 at Bakken at 2 o'clock in the morning in front of 40,000 people with Joachim Kahns, the singer from Hammerfall, singing for us. So you're talking about a band that never played a gig, first gig that we're ever going to play with Bill, myself, and Joachim, and then basically 3 other musicians from Italy that we just know via the internet. And we walk out in front of 40,000 people.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And then, of course, you have the Live in Athens DVD that was released maybe less than a year ago, and Giles Lavery was on vocals for that.
Exactly. That came out about a year ago. The good news is it'll be coming out hopefully within the next 6 months on Blu-ray, as well as with 6 additional bonus tracks. A couple live things from Kit, as well as there's a couple other different kind of bonus tracks running around. So that little package will be coming out probably about 6 months or so. We're in the middle of negotiations right now for it, but it's definitely underway.
Last question on Warlord. Will you continue? Will you ever make an album again? And will you tour again with the group, the Warlord name?
As far as I'm concerned, absolutely yes to all the questions.
Yeah.
It's sort of, at this point, it's up to Bill. He's got me a couple new songs that I've worked on.
Sure.
So we're kind of working on new material. Truth be told, it's a slow process, but Bill is writing. I would, if someone called tomorrow and said, hey, we want Warlord for festival, I'd be there tomorrow. Bill would be there tomorrow. The band would be there tomorrow. It's just sort of in a state right now, we've sort of beat the live thing to death, especially with Grease. So there's no point for us really to be playing live right now until a new studio record comes out.
Understood.
And and honestly, I'm sitting here waiting for the material. So from my point of view, the answer to the question is yes, but I'm not sure on the time frame.
Okay, so let's move on to Fate's Warning. Okay, there's a reissue of A Pleasant Shade of Grey that was released maybe a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. You played on maybe 6 or 7 Fate's Warning records. You've been in the band for, part of their peak, right?
14 years, I think, 14, 15 years.
Wow, that's a long time. Can you tell us a little bit, since it's being reissued and people can pick it up, can you tell me a little bit about the experience of actually recording the album?
Yeah, there's that to me was the pinnacle of a progressive rock band. And a couple things that come to mind, a couple great stories. I'll never forget, as you can tell on that record, there's a lot of electronics going on. There's a lot of stuff that I was sort of in charge of, and me and Jim and I put together as far as on a background, like playing to a sequencer, as well as I'd be playing my pads and stuff with the electronics, and playing to a click and playing to a backing track. Okay, it wasn't really done on a computer back in those days because that technology wasn't really developed. So it was in this big machine that I had from a company, and it was a sequencer and a sampler and all this kind of stuff. I'll never forget going to Jim's house in New Hampshire for a few days, and we sit there 8 hours a day, programming, coming up with parts. Okay, put this in there. Okay, change the tempo. Okay, it's like writing a whole thing. And I'll never forget one day we had it all going, and we hadn't saved it yet, and we accidentally unkicked the power plug.
Wow.
So I remember that. Not a big deal, because if anybody's ever done that, you basically remember what you did because you just did it. How
does it make you feel that you weren't on the last Fate's Warning album?
Not to sound flip, but I didn't lose any sleep over it.
Okay.
It was my decision to leave, and it was kind of funny because the real story is I didn't technically quit the band. What had happened was I felt that the band was sort of kind of just grinding this live thing out over and over again. I had different things going on in my life, being married, moving back to, California. And I basically, the real story is I called Jim and I said, hey, here, love the band, love recording with you guys. The recording process between you and I is great. The writing process that we do and development is great. I think it's really special, but I just can't do the live touring anymore. It's just not, it's not working for me. It's basically what it was. It's just not working for me. It's not that I didn't want to tour live and I don't want to play live, because I do, and which was evidenced by, like, 3 months later I went to Sweden to play a one-off with my friend Joachim Kahns from Hammerfall. But it's just certain things when you're in a band so long, you just see things going in a certain direction, and it's just not working for your lifestyle. So I said to Jim, I said, I'd love to still, record with you guys. I'm sure we could work something out from a financial point of view. I know I wouldn't be a third, of the partnership and all those kind of guys. I'm totally workable, but I just can't do the live thing. It's just not going to work. And basically what I was told was, if I can't do that, then I can't be in the band, and out I went.
Yeah.
And I was.
Let's go to another topic, and I want your input on this. I mean, it's a huge debate. It's been going on for a few years now, and it's nothing to do with your career or my career. It has to do with Bill Ward and Black Sabbath. And the reason I want to talk to you about this is because you're a drummer. You understand the physical strain that a drummer has to go through on tour or recording an album. And I need your opinion. I mean, you don't have to give me your opinion, but I'd like to know, Bill Ward, the final tour for Black Sabbath, do you think he should have been on this tour? Do you think Black Sabbath was right in saying, listen, Bill, you don't look like you're in good physical shape and we need somebody in good physical shape? Or do you think maybe Bill Ward should just play the last show with Black Sabbath, since this is basically the end? What are your thoughts?
Okay, there's about 6 questions there. But
Yeah, give me your thoughts about Bill Ward and Black Sabbath. How's that?
I'm Bill. I can't speak for, Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi and what's going on and what they have going on, but you would have thought that they would have done everything possible to have him on that tour, just because he is 1/4 of Black Sabbath. There's no question. It's not like he was a replacement guy. He was 25% of that band. So yes, I would have said they should have tried to do everything to have him on that. But we don't know the inside story, so I can't judge and condemn, and I don't want to do that. But yes, that is Black Sabbath. So
there's a physical strain in being a drummer. Do you think he could have done it?
That's up to him. Every drummer knows whether they can or can't. That's up to him. And if he put it this way, if he would have said, yes, I can do it, I would have said, okay, let's go rehearse for a week and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That would have been the telling tale, right there.
Do you think Bill Ward should be on the final Black Sabbath show? There will be a final show. I'm not sure where it is, but
absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. But I could understand, honestly, and I have my own stories to tell about this, but I could understand if they're not going to have him on the whole tour and then they're going to bring him out as a, kind of like a puppet in a promotional big marketing campaign for the last show. I could see how that could piss him off.
Yeah.
That's totally being taken advantage of. It's like, okay, you're not good enough for this part of it. And not even the fact, we're not even talking financial, but we're talking about, kind of stealing away from him the joy and the reliving of doing that last tour, which will stick with everybody forever. It's hard. Again, there's no difference between a band and a marriage and relationships. And we don't know the details. So it's tough to judge. But yes, you'd want him there if at all possible. Let me just leave it at that. But yes.
Well, there you have it, Mark Zonder. Let's summarize everything here. So, Fate's Warning, reissue of A Pleasant Shade of Grey. Pick it up. Also, we have the Graham Bonnet Band. They're working on a new album with a bonus CD of not unreleased, but reissued or re-recorded material from Graham's past. We have Warlord, possibly some more tours in the future, as well as some material they're working on. Mark, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. I wish you all the best, all the success. Keep on rocking.
Things are good. I can't really complain.
All right. And also, I forgot to mention the live in Athens Warlord show, available on DVD, coming out on Blu-ray, and as well as on CD. There you have it. Mark Zonder. I'm not going to read down the list of all the bands you played in, but thanks for being on the show. And catch you next time on The Metal Voice.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time and the effort.